Today we're going to talk about the humble kettlebell. It's the only single piece of iron in the fitness world that can unite us all. It doesn't matter if you're a fitness IG motivator to like a barefoot movement specialist, all the way through to shirtless CrossFitters to functional movement specialists trying to get more mobility for you. When we're talking about this little guy here, a bit of history about the kettlebell. It actually comes back from way back in the 1800s, back in Russia, which was actually used as a means to weigh things way back in the farming days. But it's popped up in circuses and in shows across Europe, mostly Eastern Europe as well, where they were just juggling them, throwing them around, using them as weights for shows. And now it recently, in the past about 40, 50 years, it moved over to America and then into the wider fitness world as more known now as a kettlebell. A bit about its design and function. So if you have a look at the kettlebell here, you can see it's literally a cast piece of iron with a simple little handle on it there, shaped like that. So it actually serves as a few functions, can serve in a few ways, where when you're holding it, it can either lengthen your lever as so it goes all the way out there to what's known as a kettlebell rack, sitting on the back of your wrist as well. And that shortens the lever and makes things a little bit easier for stabilization exercises if you just want to hold it up above your head like so. All the way to being held upside down to even more stabilization exercises like that as well. But because of the design of the kettlebell itself, it can lend itself to quite a number of uses. So as I alluded to before, it can be used for stabilization. It can make exercises more difficult to make a little bit more gains as well when you're swinging them around or holding them, making it a little bit more difficult. So, you can use the same weight for everything. So for example, for use, you can literally use this kettlebell, a single kettlebell, for a single gym session. So if you walk into the door of a gym or walk into your home gym, you can pick up a single kettlebell and use it for some soft tissue self-massage techniques. So you can either sort of mash some muscle up like that, or you could use the other end if you're a bit of a masochist and mash some tight spots here as well. Onto some sort of stabilization, mobilization exercises like a couple of windmills or just holding it upside down. Then to some power exercises, so you can use them for snatches, cleans, swings. Then into some strength work, so for some pressing, some pulling, some deadlifts, lunges, squats. If you could think of an exercise to do in the gym or in your home gym, you could literally put a kettlebell in your hand and you have a kettlebell exercise for that. So the usability of a kettlebell itself is endless. So I won't list the amount of exercises or the names of all the exercises that you could use for a kettlebell, because you would be here and that would kind of be snore. Limitations of a kettlebell. So there are some limitations. So with the kettlebell itself, they do come in weights, which sort of tends to go back to the old Russian days where they're called poots. Yes, I said poots, which is usually increments of they're about 16 kilograms. So if you ever hear of something like 1.5 or 2 poots, it's just talking about approximately 16 kilo increments. These days, modern kettlebells come in 4 kilogram increments. So they'll start from as little as 4 kilos or 6 kilos, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, all the way up to a limitless amount of weight, depending on how big you want your kettlebell. Well, there is a maximum, but we won't talk about that today. Because of that, the slightly bigger jumps in weights does limit people. So sometimes as you get stronger, as you get more efficient or proficient at using a kettlebell, sometimes a simple little 12 kilo kettlebell will become too light. But jumping up to a 16 kilo kettlebell or even a 24 kilo kettlebell will be too big a jump for some people. So that may limit the ability to use them or to get a sufficient stimulus from the piece of equipment itself. They also take up quite a bit of space as well. I've got about 10 or 12 kettlebells over there, and it takes up pretty much an entire wall of mine, including a two-story rack as well. And it does take up a lot of space, and they can tend to be quite expensive as well. So when you compare it, say, with a set of dumbbells these days, you can get a full set of dumbbells, which can go up to quite a heavy weight. We're talking about pairs of dumbbells, and I'd be hard pressed to actually find a kettlebell exercise that couldn't be interchangeable with a dumbbell itself. So when you're looking about cost efficiency, you may want to consider that as well when making that purchase itself. Also, because they are fixed weights, slight changes in weight can tend to be a bit of an issue that I alluded to before. Unlike, say, a barbell or even a stack-loaded either cable machine or whatever that you'd be using, the increments will be a little bit more difficult to manage as well. Also, another limitation on the kettlebell itself is going to be that there will be a slight steep learning curve to start with, because you can be limited with your grip strength, the ability to rack the kettlebell itself on your forearm. So just expect to earn some bruises as you learn to use this piece of equipment. We all go through that. Once you get better at using it, swinging it around, flinging it around, you will find that there is a sweet spot in which way you can rack a kettlebell correctly as well. Would I recommend a kettlebell itself? For sure. For all the cons that I mentioned before, that's pure usability, where it's so adaptable. You can use it for every exercise under the sun. You can use it not just for strength training, you can use it for conditioning, you can use it for power development, you can use it for corrective exercises in both a prehab or a rehab setting, and you can also use it in a stabilization mode as well. And because of all those factors itself, and only investing in possibly 2 or 3 kettlebells and getting a full workout and having a program be based around a kettlebell for a number of months, if not years, I definitely recommend getting a whole bunch of kettlebells, investing a little bit of money into those. My only suggestion would be, though, to invest in either a kettlebell course or just a couple of sessions with a coach who you know that is quite proficient at teaching the kettlebell, because of what I said before, where the learning curve itself is a little bit steep. So it would be handy to hire someone who knows a thing or two about kettlebells, just to teach you how to use it properly, safely, and get you started yourself. Once you're up and running, you can refer to YouTube channels, you can refer to Instagram for kettlebell workouts itself. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you've got any suggestions on what I want to talk about. You have a question? So the question was, here at Rebel we do remote coaching, and the question was that if one of our clients decides to buy a bunch of kettlebells, is that enough for us to coach them remotely? The answer is yes. So we do have tutorials and demonstration videos on our database that we do share with our clients, and because we do personalized remote coaching programming, we will match the skill level of our clients to the piece of equipment and the exercises that we prescribe for them, that we program for them. Would I suggest kettlebell to beginners? Yes, I would, because we can always start with the basic movements. Just like any training program, you will always start with the basics. And what we're talking about is, your basic squats, squat variations, lunges and all that sort of stuff. Your basic hip hinging, which would be more of a deadlift variation. Your basic upper body pushing exercises. So you could do floor presses, or you could do a kettlebell bench press or an overhead press. And then your pulling variations of rows, reverse flies, anything that you want to do, upright rows, or all that sort of stuff as well. And once you get accustomed to the basics and nail them down, then we can start layering on more complicated exercises, which will be more specific to our client's goals itself. So as I said before, if you've got any questions or comments, please leave it down below. If you've got any suggestions or other questions on other pieces of equipment, DM us. Write a comment. We'll be happy to bring it up, do some research on the piece of equipment that you want us to talk about. Otherwise, happy training.